Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/entitled people. In today's episode, entitled mother tried to steal my tablet, so I went from 0 to 100 to make her back off. Update, well, looks like she like her medicine. I have the most entitled co-worker. A FedEx truck used her driveway to turn around. The horror. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Entitled mother tried to steal my tablet, so I went from 0 to 100 to make her back off. First time poster here, and I'm still in awe about the audacity of some people. I've read about entitled people, but outside of my school, I've never been in contact with any of them long enough to deal with them. That was until recently. Also, forgive me for any grammatical errors as I am writing on my tablet. I, 33 am an ELA teacher based in China for the last 3.5 years. First, a little bit of information before I get to the story. There is a bit of a pay gap between foreign and Chinese teachers. It's also a well-known fact, but only the most opportunistic ones like to capitalize on it from time to time if you're not careful. It can be anything from charging more it stands to, on the rarest of rare occasions, guilting them into complying. Trust me, it has happened, and those select few are not apologetic about it. Now, on to the story. It was Chinese New Year and I was on the train to Chongqing to visit a friend. I don't like flying and I really like trains. I had my Samsung Tab S8 Plus and was watching Final Fantasy VII Advent Children with my Bluetooth. Suddenly, I felt something nudging against me. I looked to see a kid, maybe in elementary, trying to look at the movie. So, I turned off my Bluetooth and turned the tablet onto him so he can watch. Sounds weird, but being a teacher here, you get used to it. Anyway, he was really immersed, and, though I couldn't understand him, I could tell that he was enjoying it a lot. He was trying to talk to me, but his English wasn't so good and my Chinese was worse, so he opted for "I like this," "so cool," "me too," and things like that. Very basic English. He was a sweet kid and he got to watch the whole thing before our stop. He even said Chongqing and I said, "Me too." He waved goodbye and ran back to his mom, and I began to pack my things so I get off. Then, it happened. A woman approached me with the kid and, in perfect English, demanded my tablet. She literally said, "Give me your tablet." I thought I was in Twilight Zone and wanted to ensure I heard her correctly. Excuse me? Give me your tablet. I wanted my son to have it. I refused, a simple no, and she said those magic words that I'd begun hating to hear. "But you're a foreigner. You can just buy another one." Now, a couple of things. 1, I don't know if the kid really wanted my tablet or not, and, frankly, I didn't care. 2, I come from a family that has taught me to never let anyone make you feel less than others. If someone tries to take my dignity, it's not going to end well for that person. And, no, I don't actually have to fight to get my point across. Fair warning, I'm paraphrasing the confrontation because it lasted a lot longer than I cared for. I said, "No, I can't. I had to save to buy this. You can do the same." "No, you can give yours and stop being selfish." Again, I countered, "Or you can stop being an entitled and buy your own." It was my first time seeing a shocked Pikachu face, and, to rub salt in the wound, I added, "Shoo. Shoo." She did go away, only to come back with the police. That, I should have seen coming, but I didn't because I was focused on getting off the train. Lucky for me, he also spoke English with great fluency. He was also really polite and, obviously, not in the mood for any of it. "Sir, this woman says you stole her tablet." I saw the woman behind him with a triumphant smirk while speaking Chinese. I let out a sigh. I had already wasted enough time on this nonsense. So, I did what I always did when I wanted to get my point across in the quickest way possible. I turned cold. In fact, my students refer to it as me turning into Bing Ayashi, ice teacher. I looked at the police officer and said, "I'll make a deal with you. I'm going to use my fingerprint to unlock this tablet. If it doesn't work, she can have it. If it does work, I get to bash her face in." That woman's Pikachu face came back so fast that the officer even had a shocked look. He asked me if I was serious and I said, "Definitely." I guess the woman saw my face and tries to backpedal, but I wasn't going to let her go until I made my point. When she tried to leave, I said, "Where are you going? I thought you said this was yours." The woman looked to the police for help, but, as I said, he was not in the mood and just spoke as she was. She said something in Chinese to the man only for the man to give a short reply. I guess he wasn't going to entertain this and make sure I didn't hit her. "How dare you? You had the nerve to try to take something that's mine because I'm a foreigner. You're disgusting. You should be ashamed of yourself." The woman had a mixture of fear, shock, and anger on her face when I finally asked, "Is this your tablet?" When the woman said no, I leaned my head in towards her and barked, "What was that?" She finally said that the tablet was mine before taking her kid and leaving. The kid did wave goodbye to me despite his mother's objections, and I smiled and waved back. The officer asked me if I was serious about hurting her and told him the truth, I wouldn't have hit a woman over an object. He laughed and wished me a happy Chinese New Year. I told my friend about this and we had a good laugh about this. Why do I get the feeling that the woman's son is used to his mother's behavior? Either way, I am glad that the son is not emulating it. I totally get this. The culture is so very different. I know many from there and they can get in your face in a split second when they want something. Since her English was so good, she probably lived in a country where English is spoken at some point in her life. That's also why she would expect you to have more disposable income. Good thing you had your fingerprint to unlock it. That's more proof than simply knowing a passcode. And if you had been using a passcode and she saw, she could have stolen your tablet. Crazy experience, but thanks for sharing. It's something I tell my family when they buy electronics. Use fingerprints, not passwords. I was bullied pretty badly as a kid. I never had to hit anyone because I had perfected the ice mode also. If you can be convincing enough when telling someone that you will break their leg if they keep trying to trip you, then they stop trying to trip you pretty quick. Where I live, China is our fight-to-death enemy, so we get a lot of propaganda about how the Chinese are bad. But reading about the police officer. Is China really that bad? To all the people here, I'm just curious. Is it really how it's portrayed to be? The media likes to paint everyone the same. But like literally everywhere on the planet, there are good people mixed with garbage. We can say the same about my home country, USA. But the truth is that there are mean people everywhere in the world. When my boyfriend and I went to visit his family in Mexico City, we're in the US, his mom pulled me aside and said not to speak English in any of the shops in the small towns we visited. She said the price would double or triple if they knew I was American. So I'd whisper in my boyfriend's ear and he'd negotiate for me. Just as an aside, that was 45 years ago and I bought a floor-length hand-knit sweater with handmade wooden buttons for $30. When I wore it to work, a co-worker told me I couldn't have even purchased the yarn here for that price. So glad I whispered. Update, well, looks like she liked her medicine. Now, this is a continuation of a story from Petty Revenge. I would have posted the update there, but I figure it would fit better on this sub. I'll the beginning story on here so you're not lost. See, there is a faculty member, let's call her Lola, who is beyond annoying. What makes her so annoying? Well, she tended to make everybody wait for her. It didn't help that she was the one responsible for supplying us with what we need our classroom. For example, when you try to get her to do anything or answer a question, she would always say, "Oh, give me a moment. I'm so busy," and never gets back to us. Sounds like nothing, right? Well, when you approach her again, Lola responded with the same response. Eventually, you would get so fed up with waiting for her that you would just figure out the solution on your own, only for her to complain that you should have waited for her. And, when you tell her that we got tired of chasing her, Lola would always counter with, "I'm just so busy. You must be patient with me." This was a constant cycle of hers every single time anyone asks her for help. This had been going on for about a few weeks now, but I mostly ignored her. I'm self-sufficient and usually buy my own things. That was until she got involved in our Starbucks run. Every time we planned a Starbucks run, the process was always the same. We posted in the group, everybody put down their order, and our boss collects and pays. But every time, Lola would say, "Wait, I'm so busy," only not to order anything an hour later. She did this a few more times until I announced that I had enough. My colleagues wanted to know what I was going to do when I told them that I got an idea. So, on Monday, I started taking orders. She did her usual antics and I told her that she got 10 minutes. She tried to object, saying that she was so busy, but I stood my ground. 10 minutes later, I ordered. 30 minutes later, we got our order, and she was fuming. She tried to protest, but I told her that I meant what I said. Then, she said that I should have waited for her. I just tilted my head and said, African Americans will understand that gesture. For the whole week, every time she tried to talk to me, I would just give her usual response, "I'm busy, oh, give me a moment," and things like that. And I do mean every time. Soon, it got to the point where she refused to talk to me, which was fine because, again, I'm self-reliant. Now, here's where the real fun begins. My colleagues, on both sides, foreigners and Chinese, started to join in on it, which started to piss her off even more. Nobody wanted to let up even after being spoken to about it. We all just informed him that we're just doing what she's done to us. Then, today, the students, mostly HS students, got involved. I don't know if they saw what we did or heard about it. All I know is that they started to do it, too, and, being teenagers, they were relentless. Even when she said hi to them, they gave Lola her usual responses. After dealing with this for a week, she finally broke down and cried. I got called into a meeting with my boss after Lola singled me out. He told me that what I did on the side of cruel and requested that I tried to make amends with her. I refused and countered that she needs to grow up and stop acting like she was more important than she actually is. Right now, we are at an impasse, but I have this feeling that everybody got their point across to Lola. Now for the big meeting. At the initial meeting, my boss wanted me to apologize because, in his words, what I did leaned on the side of cruelty. I refused, and that activated a meditation between Lola and I, which we just got concluded today. To put it simply, I'm fine and she's gone. In fact, I didn't really have to do much, and everything took about an hour to conclude. Allow me to paraphrase everything for you. My memory is good, but it's not eidetic, so I'll focus on the important bits. Cast: me, Lola, LB, Lola's boss, MB, my boss. So, for starters, we all sat down, and Lola started off by demanding that I apologize to her in front of the school for making her cry. Her boss seconded that, and both of them had smiles on their faces. I flat out told them that wasn't going to happen, as I would have to tell everybody why I'm forced to apologize. Lola, you made everybody hate me. Me, I didn't make anybody do anything. What I did was show you what you were doing and how inconvenient it was for everybody. What they did was like the idea and joined in. LB, you still need to apologize. What did you be petty and cruel? I recited a quote from one of the Redditors who commented on my story. Me, if I'm being cruel by doing the behavior, do you think it was also cruel when she was doing it? Because I can tell you it is humiliating to be ignored and told to get over it. Lola and LB looked at each other with blank faces, and that's when MB chimed in. This is where I got a little nervous because of our last meeting, but he surprised me with this question. MB, Lola, do you understand what your job entails? Lola, yes. MB, was it explained clearly? Lola, yes. MB, then, why am I getting receipts of things our teachers had to buy when it's your job to get it for them? Now, it was my turn to have a blank face. MB explained that he found it odd that I refused to apologize as, in his words, as childish as OP can be, he does have the sense to admit when he's wrong, crude, but accurate. So, he decided to do some research. He reached out to both foreign and Chinese teachers that were associated with me and gathered information about Lola's antics. MB took out a folder that showed conversations that he had with numerous teachers along with their receipts of what they asked Lola to acquire for them, which she never did. Lola, well dash dot. Me, let me guess. Mimicked Lola, I'm so busy. I know I'm petty. Lola, frown so, is everybody going to be mean to me? I can't help dash dot. MB, Lola, what have you done for our teachers? Lola got quiet at that question. However, that didn't stop her from staring daggers at me, nor did it stop me from smiling. LB began speaking to MB in Chinese. Passionately, I might add. After a bit, MB and LB looked at me. LB, can you, at least, apologize for getting the others involved? Me, I do apologize for that. It was meant to be between Lola and me. No one else was supposed to get involved. Lola gave a triumphant smirk before saying, now, we can get back to work. Me, I couldn't help myself, I can get back to work since I actually do my job. Lola's jaw dropped at that comment and looked at my boss. Lola, are all foreigners this rude? Me, some of us even know how to throw shade. MB, Lola, you made teachers spend their own money on things that you were supposed to get for them. Lola, they should have been patient with me. LB, and that still doesn't excuse how they treated her. Admittedly, this is where I lost patience. I yelled at LB about the fact that, whether he was doing it intentionally due to some obligation to her, or if he was just that dense, he was focused on the part. The fact of the matter is that anybody in their mind can see that Lola is the problem here. She had forced us to buy my own supplies, miss Starbucks, and refuses to do anything in a timely fashion, but you're focused on me and the fact that I decided to do the same thing to her. I then followed with a question, there's something I'm missing here? Are you two sleeping together? LB went silent after that. His face was beet red, but I couldn't tell if it was due to anger or shame. Nevertheless, he didn't say another word. Lola, on the other hand. Lola, I didn't do anything wrong. Me, are you kidding me, right? You weren't going to your job. The conversation went on in circles, with Lola using her classic lines over and over again. Eventually, MB snapped. MB, enough. I was then excused from the room and told to wait in my office. When I got back, I was given the final verdict. To make a long story short, Lola got fired for basically not doing her job and costing the company money. She tried to justify herself, but MB made it clear that the teachers shouldn't have to use their own money on things that the school should be providing. Then, she tried to ask for a second chance, but neither MB nor LB thought that she could be trusted. I mean, if it was just me, maybe. But there were multiple counts of her actions that he gathered. Finally, she tried to demand my job, stating that it was the fair thing to do, but my MB countered with my merit. As crazy as I can be at times, again, a fair point, my students love my class and respect the work that my colleagues put into it, something that LB had to agree with it. So, Lola is out, and I didn't have to defend myself as much as I thought. I did, however, had to talk to the high schoolers about what they did and make them apologize. They really didn't want to, but I did have to remind them that, A, it didn't concern them, and B, they are still students that disrespected a teacher, which was wrong. Apparently, my boss is going to be the one handling the orders until they hire Lola's replacement. Everybody is pretty ecstatic about her being gone, but I'm indifferent. As I said in the previous post, I've gotten my own supplies. I just got tired of her antics and was willing to strike back. Just the way I was raised, I guess. Oh well, all's well that ends well, right? Opie, hey, I'm doing the Starbucks run. What do you want? Lola, I can't tell you now. I'm just so busy. Give me 10 minutes. How is that any easier to say than giving OP an actual order, say, grande chai tea latte, no whip? But from OP's accounts, the major problem was Lola not doing her job of supplying the teachers. What was she so busy doing, if not her job? I agree with the poster who said this was passive-aggressive bullying. You know, my boss asked her and her boss and she wouldn't give an answer. I'd imagine that was the final nail in her coffin. Lola's downfall was the fact she was not doing her job, which she was paid to do. All Lola needed to do was ask teachers to please write down or print out a list of needed supplies. Or, she could have made a list of all common, regularly needed supplies, then in the next column put quantity needed, and at the bottom a few lines to write in unique one-time things needed. It was such a simple job. I had a similar job, and had to keep up with how much had been used, so all supplies on hand at just about any time someone needed something. Shipments of supplies were constantly arriving, supplies were constantly being used, but it just took good management and attention to detail. I enjoyed it once I figured out how to keep track of everything. Lola obviously wasn't even trying. She could have set it up so that she didn't even need to speak to anyone, just bring a list of needed supplies to an IN box, then she could procure supplies. She obviously felt way above her job title, since she didn't do it. Good thing MB had the folder full of receipts from so many teachers, each one was a nail for her coffin. Lola is a narcissist, and narcissists can't think properly. Their sense of reason is askew. Years ago, I worked with someone just like Lola, but her name was Veronica. She was an assistant to an engineering group. She had a reputation for never getting anything done, and I was told if you want it done right, just do it yourself. Don't ask Veronica to do it. One day I was in the cafeteria, and she was sitting nearby and we started chatting. Eventually, I asked her why it didn't bother her that she had a bad reputation. She told me that she didn't care what others thought of her and gave me some advice. She said, when people ask me to do something, I just tell them yes, and then I don't do it. Eventually, they learned to stop asking me. I was laid off from that job, along with hundreds of others, but Veronica kept hers. She demonstrated that her job is non-essential. So why would any employer keep her on? But what was she doing with all that money that should have been spent on the supplies? I still want to know what exactly Lola was doing if she wasn't doing her job. Also, was there money missing if the teachers were having to buy their own supplies? I have the most entitled coworker. My coworkers are the most entitled people I know. They think anything that I own can be used by them. Food, wet wipes, tissues, etc. all fall under this category. Our office is set in such a way that we have a long table with no partition. My manager helps herself to my wet wipes or tissues whenever she wants. She knows I keep them because I am allergic to sanitizer and multiple hand washing results in cracked skin for me. Next is my colleague who I recently started working with. She takes away this tiny fan I own without asking and keeps it with her till I ask for it. I usually have a snack hoard because I get hungry. She helps herself to whatever she wants without ever replacing what she too. She also will ask me to order food for her from my food delivery app. She pays for it, but honestly the premium costs very little. Then there is a colleague I call Mr. Mooch. I have posted about him before. Check my account for more about him. He feels entitled to my food app too. He has zero shame in asking me for my ID and password. Not just for my food app but also for my Amazon Prime and Netflix. I know for a fact that when he somehow wheedles someone into giving their password he passes it on to multiple people. If you think that's all, wait for it. The internet at my office sucks, so I use my own data. I have a good data plan and have plenty of leftover data. Now my coworkers keep begging me for my internet too. How do I put an end to it? My saying no doesn't really seem to work. You keep saying no when they ask to use your services. You do not need a reason or any excuse for saying no. Just say it and ignore whatever mutterings they do. You take back the fan when your coworker takes it from your area and you move it back to your space. I can't tell from this if you have a personal drawer or cabinet for your wipes/tissues, if you do put your property in there. If you don't put it in a personal bag, equivalent to a handbag which most people would not go into, or maybe buy small packs of each that can be stuffed into a pant pocket. Mostly learn to say no and stick up for yourself. They do it because they have been getting away it. Good luck. I do have a drawer, but it's communal, so it's pointless. If I put things away, they ask for it. It's like they just don't understand no when they hear it. Get a backpack, small roll bag, large hobo sack purse, or such like. There are a number of suitable styles designed for travelers. Fitted with a lock that keeps it shut. If there are multiple external pockets that zip, place a lock on each one. Store everything that you are not actively using in that bag. If your co-workers question it, say that some folks have been taking stuff and it is busting your budget. Be sure to lean in conspiratorially when you say it. Say it as if you are talking about other people, never them directly. Most people will know if they have been abusing your generosity and will lay off. Some will never admit even to themselves that they are the problem. Those are why you need to keep the locks on. The worst part is they will literally ask for it even if it wasn't in their line of sight. I don't understand. If you don't want someone to use your logins, why not did you give them your passwords? Why not change them all and tell them no? Yeah, no. You start saying no. Put in keep your stuff in your desk or purse. Don't leave anything on your desk. I got myself a small box where I kept all my stuff, and when anyone asked me for wipes, gum, Kleenex, I would tell them sorry, but I didn't bring enough. These are for my personal use only. CVS had a sale on them. As for snacks, again I kept them in my purse. I ended up using a backpack. Don't share your personal stuff, apps, passwords, streaming services. You're there to work, not to share your stuff. Keep saying no. The only drawback is that they won't be ad-friendly towards you. If you care about that, then didn't change anything. Me, I couldn't care less. I didn't care if I wasn't invited or included in anything they did. I did my job and saved money since they weren't using all my stuff. A FedEx truck used her driveway to turn around. The horror. This showed up on my local Nextdoor page. I was happy to see that every single response was either ridiculing her, expressing concern for her mental health, or telling her to get a hobby, or all of the above. I just witnessed a FedEx driver in a large delivery truck use my driveway to turn around in. Unacceptable. This neighborhood is not large, and had he used his GPS he would have discovered he could have easily continued on the road and backtracked. I called the FedEx 800 number to file a complaint. However, it simply went to an overseas call center, so I did not leave one. I then called the local FedEx drop-off store and asked to have the number to the Kansas City distribution center. I was told they do not have it. Call me cynical, but I don't believe that for 1 second. Internet search turned up one phone number only, to the overseas call center. I despised FedEx before this, and this just cements my low opinion of them. My favorite response so far. Hopefully you're okay. I can't even imagine what you're going through after such a traumatic experience. If you need a good attorney, I would recommend Larry Parnell out of Idaho, Oklahoma. I'm sure he would love to sue FedEx's ass off for you. If you'll send him the money for a bus ticket, he could probably be up here in 2 to 3 days to get things started. For those who allow drivers to turn around on their property or receive a lot of deliveries, I just want to put in a recommendation if you can afford it. Leave a cooler with water, Gatorade, and salty snacks out for the people who are working to get our products to us safely. Most vehicles do not have AC, and those trucks get hot. I'm not a driver, but a family member is, and we leave one out with a sign that states Driver Oasis, and thank you to the neighbors who called out that post. I am lucky enough to have a horseshoe driveway, and I actively encourage the postal, UPS and FedEx guys on our route to use it whenever they need to because it's really unsafe to back into the road. I am on a secondary highway. I can't imagine someone being this pressed about someone turning around. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.